Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. The Grant.
My name is Niels Winter, and I'm the creator, editor, and host of The Grant. The Grant is an independent, non-commercial podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system on topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. Large energy companies are very popular in the EU funding ecosystem. If you manage to get one of these babies on board your EU energy proposal, then you know that you have just made your chance bigger to access funding. Even better if it is from one of the continent's big capitals. I happen to be so lucky that The Grant has a regular listener from exactly such an organization. Amy Radlberger is EU funding expert in Wiener Stadtwerke, which is the energy company of Vienna. I reached out to invite her in for a talk about how they work with EU funding, and luckily for me she happily accepted the invitation. So, we recorded a strong episode with focus on the key innovation areas for such a large organization, a talk about the innovation strategy and how they calibrate that vis-à-vis EU funding. This is a very strong episode with insights into how the energy company of one of the largest cities in Europe work with EU funding. A real treat for you all out there. Please enjoy.
The Grant. Welcome to The Grant, the EU funding podcast. Now, I keep having a flow of guests coming in. It's very nice because I had solo episodes for a while in the beginning, as regulars will know, but it's just much more fun to have people coming around. I will having solo episodes in the future for anyone who are missing only my voice. I am planning to make a Brussels office series, and there I will have some episodes where I explain my former role there. So that if anyone is looking forward to that, you can look forward to that. Now, today I have a guest in. It's very nice. It's again a concrete organization episode here where we talk about how a specific organization is dealing with EU funding, and it's a nice one today. So I'm very happy. And now I just already have been talking way too much for the intro. Amy, welcome.
Thank you very much, Niels. Thank you. Thanks for the
lovely to have you around. And you know what? This goes out to all of you regulars out there. I do like to include and involve the people that I do know listen to what I do. So involve you in the programs, and this is exactly what has happened here. I know, Amy, that you are someone who listens to what I do. So I reached out to check if you would like to join this to share what you do. So I'm very, very happy. This is exactly what the grant is about, to include and involve the people that are listening to what I do. Amy, you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure.
Shortly.
Okay. So thanks again for having me on. I've been following the grant since its inception, so I was secretly hoping you were going to ask me, and you did. So that was great. I have been working on EU funding for almost 20 years to the day. And I'm currently working for the Wiener Stadtwerke. This is Austria's largest communal infrastructure provider, utilities company. And through this, I'm working for Austria's largest energy provider, Austria's largest combined network provider, the public transport providers in Vienna, garages, graveyards, and burials company. And yeah, I think that's it. I work for a wide, and we belong to the city. So all of our projects are working towards decarbonization.
You're a civil servant. Just about yourself, what's your main capacity and experience when it comes to EU proposals?
Yeah, so I have quite a broad range of experience in funding. So I've been involved in the management of EU funding programs in Wales. but also, but mainly, I would say my experience is in developing and supporting proposals, and I've even written a couple myself. I know today's talk is focusing on research and development. So I in 2008 I joined the UK Research Office. This, at the time, well, still is the ERC and Marie Curie National Contact Point, and provides advice to all stakeholders in the academic sector in the UK. So I started here really with FP7, and then the job came up at the University of Vienna, and I switched in 2011 over to the University of Vienna, and then worked there for 10 years on research programs. That was our main funding source. And yeah, in 2022, then I switched to Wiener Stadtwerke.
So you've been a research manager.
Yeah, type of research manager, but focusing uniquely on EU funding. And so I have a long tradition and history with research and development.
Yeah, many of my guests, they actually have like a long career spanning, like a decade-long experience working with this. It's very nice. I do try, however, to also get people in who are less experienced. But they, you know what? When I reach out to juniors and explain that I would like to share about how it is to be a junior, say, I don't want yet. Oh. But that's the whole point.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want them to share the insecurities, how difficult this is to enter and so on. But they don't like that because they don't like to show off that they are not. They feel vulnerable towards their managers. Yeah, to go in a program and say that they don't really know what they're doing. But it's a pity.
It is a pity, and I think everybody has to start somewhere. And if we're going to make changes to the funding programs to make them better, then we need to really talk to people who are new to the programs as well, because they can give us really good input about how we encourage new people to apply for EU funding, because we have to target this group as well. It shouldn't be that the same people are receiving the funding. So yeah, it's an important point.
It takes off a declaration here in the beginning. Yeah. I love this. But actually, now now I'm just inspired. I think I'm going to try to push a little bit and make a junior network or something like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
To make a specific universe for them, because it's not.
It's true. Yeah, we could have a mentorship type program, and I would also be really interested. I'm kind of such a massive supporter of EU funding, and I see mainly as it is a massive positive thing. So I do need to hear some other people's experiences too.
No, this is a shout out to all entry or juniors working within this sector. I need you on board this podcast to share about your experiences, how you feel, how you approach this, how chaotic you think it is, and so on, because it's extremely important for my network. No.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely nice entry to this episode. Eh? We are going to talk. Normally, people, they present the organization they work with, but since this whole episode is about Wiener Stadtwerke, then we can maybe just do the fly in, and you have the intro talk about the energy company. And then we move into the general involvement in framework cope and sort of historically how they've been working with it. And so.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I'm working for Wiener Energie, which is the largest energy provider, and Wiener Netze, which is the largest network provider in Austria. And yeah, they're working on a number of really exciting projects. They have innovation teams really innovative new ideas, but we also obviously as municipal companies, we also have infrastructure that we need to manage to keep basically Vienna and other parts of Austria running. Mm-hmm. And at the moment, our focus is very much on, as I mentioned before, decarbonizing Vienna. So there is the city of Vienna has set itself the goal of being carbon neutral by 2040. So all of our projects, whether they're funded or not, are working towards that goal. So yeah, I'm working on a really wide range of different types of projects. So ranging from underground energy storage, geothermal energy projects, smart grids projects, and we also look at circular economy projects, looking at things like phosphorus recycling and CCU. And in addition, just a wide range of topics.
Yes, because what this is, you are the kind of organization that is at the forefront of the change, right? Sustainability and like this energy, which is extremely highlighted the last couple of years, for reasons a little bit east from here, and combined with a general worldwide challenge related to climate change, where energy also plays a key role. So it's several flanks that you're covering, and not so that's the world that you are in. Yeah, that's the world that you live in, so to say, and placed in. And then you have all the different, all the little nuts and bolts out there of themes and areas that all combined, like is related to this. So all of these different areas as those are potential EU innovation projects. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We could just combine them all and just submit them. But yeah, I mean, also along with the public transport providers, they're also implementing projects which are making Vienna carbon neutral, encouraging people to use public transport, logistics, new ways of engaging logistics companies to reduce their emissions. So you're right. It's all of our projects are one big innovation project.
I would say the energy companies, they are really in the knot, so to say. One of the organizations in the middle of everything with this change. Yeah, so it must be a very, very thriving and vibrant place when it comes to all this, because you probably get a lot of regulation and new initiatives from the Austrian government, combined with what happening from the Commission member states, what they agree on initiatives. So there's a lot of things that very quickly reaches to you as an energy company.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can give a classic example. I mean, there are a number, this next generation EU funding, which is COVID funding that was given to the member states during the pandemic, and they had to come up with recovery and resilience plans. Within hours, there are a number of massive energy programs, funding programs. And these projects have to be implemented. They were having to be implemented by the end of 2025, which was a massive challenge. So things happen really, really quickly. And typically energy projects need quite a long time to plan, because you can't just implement a large scale energy project. You have to get permissions. It has to be properly planned. You have to get also political sign off for it. So we can't just apply for something. So this is also one of the first challenges I can mention.
It's a huge element of security, of certifications, of approvals, of this is this complex area also, right? It's not only the innovation and research around it. It's people's it's things that comes in and out of people's plugs. It's what's in the streets. It's.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't just do anything. We have to make sure that if we're testing something, the technologies have already been, to some extent, tested already, so we can be fairly certain that nothing bad is going to go wrong. So security of supply, it's very perhaps our main focus as well, that has to be secure for the people of Vienna.
I'll put here in the rundown the key areas of innovation and challenges. Do you have sort of a top 5? Because it's now we just explained the listeners that it's everything, but it's a lot. But are there areas where you say this is really a hot potato for as an energy company in Austria, in the given situation you are in Austria?
Yeah. I mean, renewable energy projects has to be the top, and that then encompasses a number of different renewable energy sources. I already mentioned geothermal energy, because we're a city. Obviously, we don't have much space, so we have to be quite innovative in terms of how we can implement our projects. And so, as I mentioned, underground thermal energy storage, but also we have We have also wind farms, solar panels, and solar installations are extremely important to us. And smart grids in Vienna, Wiener Netze rolled out.
So the energy generation.
Yeah, energy generation. Yeah,
and then the net, the grid. Yeah,
the grid. Absolutely. So we're working with both, and we all have in Vienna these kind of smart energy boxes that we can actually manage not manage, but look at our energy consumption. I think it's one of the largest, or if not the largest, rollout.
What do you have? So all citizens, all households have such a thing, or what?
Yeah, I think everybody has it. I mean, I certainly have it, and it's being rolled out across Vienna. So
Okay.
we have them, so we can actually monitor, or we can see when our energy consumption is inside. So these types of projects are very much high on our agenda.
So generation, grids, energy savings.
Energy savings. Also, we have implemented our first hydrogen fueling station.
Yeah, it's very hot. Energy topic.
It is a hot energy topic, and then there'll be a further rollout of our hydrogen activities. This is an extremely exciting area to be in, I think. Seeing how it.
So that's transport.
That's transport, and
you don't have to come up now. I just put.
Yeah. I mean, I could give you a.
That's also massive. Huh?
Yesterday, we actually got a CEF transport project funded, which we'll be looking at.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Which we'll be looking at providing basically onshore power to cruise ships in Vienna. So we have we have a couple of kind of docking areas and also the port of Vienna. So we'll be looking at then through these projects also cutting emissions. So that was a really nice surprise yesterday.
Yeah, sure. Are you coordinating or what?
We are coordinating that project. Yes, we are.
Well, that's even bigger. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. That was so we're super
Did you
excited.
write it or did you get help?
We got help. It was we had quite a short time span, and essentially, so I'm part of a new competence centre for EU funding within the Stadtwerke. It was launched at the beginning of 2022. There are two of us, myself and my colleague Julie Damaro, and we don't have the capacity to write the applications because we just don't have the resources. So we had to get help with that. Sure.
That's the conditions for many. So if you do have a budget and resources to pay yourself out of that, that's often a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Yeah, it was definitely. Yeah, and it was I've written one, but not written one. I've supported one before, but everything has changed, so I was happy to get something.
The CEFs are the Connection Europe facility. They're not that easy either. It's not.
They are.
It's quite of a.
It is a challenge, I think, with all these large infrastructure funding programs. I mean, there's a lot of money involved, so I can understand from the Commission's point of view that they have to really be sure that they're going to implement these projects. You have a very sound idea and it's mature enough to be implemented. Yeah, but on the other hand, as you say, it is quite a challenge. There's a number of documents that you have to provide, and also, for example, the Innovation Fund, also quite a challenging application process. Great funding scheme, but and challenging.
Yeah, the Innovation Fund. That I still I will also cover. So I have a lot to cover, as you know.
So many themes.
I try to take it bit by bit. Just before we move on, who are partners in this project?
In the CEF transport. So Wiener Energie and Wiener Netze, the two energy companies, will be involved in this project. But also on board are, for example, the Port of Vienna, and also Via Donau, which owns Via Donau, and another kind of docking owner, Donnerraum. So together we're part of this project.
So it's not a cross-national project. It's just Austrian.
No. So Vienna Lie is on the core network of the TEN-T network. So basically, our inland ports, our train stations. We are an urban node, so we also have priority in general, Vienna, and also the airport is also on the core network. So we're really, really on the core network, also on the road network. So we get that special status and kind of priority for funding.
No, just curious. Let's move into talking a little bit about your innovation strategy. This is how I normally attack these episodes, where I have someone in because it's a very interesting. It's a very interesting approach for listeners, for anyone to hear. So what's the innovation strategy, and how is that calibrated up against the EU funding that you can approach? So if we just start with that, now we touched already a little bit about what the key areas and so on. But can you give us a little bit more meat on that bone?
Yeah, so both the energy companies have their own innovation departments, and there are a number of people working on certain ideas. Every year, so that the holding is Wiener Stadtwerke, and then we have these daughter companies, which are the individual companies. And Wiener Stadtwerke also has an innovation department, and every year they develop an innovation strategy, which then comprises of the individual innovation strategies of all the daughter companies. They're working on a wide range of issues, of topics, of exciting topics, I would say. In Vienna, we have a climate lab. That was one of a really nice project that came from the innovation team. And this is in our iconic waste energy plant, Spittelau, in the middle of Vienna. It's an iconic landmark. And it's, and within this, there was a new climate lab which developed, which is looking at kind of fostering innovation in terms of climate activities. So lots of different startups are able to come and meet other innovative startups or staff at the climate lab, and it's kind of basically a hub to develop new and exciting ideas. So that was a really nice project that then got started last year, and it's under the EIC climate auspices of the EIC climate. So that was a nice project.
Yeah. Now, given that you have so many areas, how do you deal with that? Do you have a one thick document of a strategy where it is pinned out your approach to each and single one of these areas of importance, or how have you done that? And people working with it, are you in one group or are you in teams throughout the organization? How does this work?
This is a really good question. So we regularly meet with the innovation managers of the different daughter companies, and we're constantly exchanging ideas, and they're always informing us what projects they're working on, and then we go away and we look at funding and we come up with we do a screening. And if the project is really if we feel that the project is really advanced and has a really good chance, then we develop a strategy for this project. So if it's a really large-scale energy project, for example, then we might have an individual strategy for the project itself. So we might need different forms of funding to fund all of the different activities in the project. Or we develop also strategies with individual companies, where we take their innovation strategies and we take the topics in them, and then we just list, or we describe what programs could be applicable when the calls are, and things like that. So it's and obviously when calls come out, then we send the information to the innovation manager. So it's a constant flow of information. We have our own tools internally where we monitor all of the different projects. But yes, strategy is the key, and it's our preferred way of working. In that we develop either a project or a project-specific strategy, so we all know where we're heading, and when we're going to apply and what can be applied for, or a company-specific strategy.
The thing here is that there's also a political element here, right? So you cannot say, because you're not a political organization, but since you are owned by the city, my best guess, so it's probably a shareholder or something like this, right?
They are the single shareholder of the holding.
They're yeah. So that's the owners, right?
Yeah.
So they have an opinion about what you do. So you probably, my best guess is that you would have decisions being taken in the city council, where they would, as a single shareholder, ask the effective arm, the energy company, to carry out a strategy that has been agreed politically, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we have Wiener Energy has its own decarbonization strategy, and this is what we in principle follow. The city of Vienna has its own smart city framework. Again, a number of areas and projects are listed here. So, for example, this emphasis on geothermal energy projects is actually in the smart city strategy. So, of course, then we're obviously going to implement projects that can meet the objectives of this overarching strategy of the city of Vienna.
The reason why I say this or flag this, because this is probably also affecting what's in the innovation strategy document.
Yeah, I would say so. I'm not involved in the actual development of the innovation strategies, but obviously we are developing projects that are going to fulfill the objectives of the city.
Yeah. Because I've been working for political organizations myself. I'm not going to put you on a tight spot. Don't worry. But what happens is sometimes political organizations, things shift.
Yeah.
Based on political where the winds blow. So sometimes you have innovations, these things, and it seeps down to practical levels of what to apply for, what kind of projects to be involved in. And I've tried myself to almost haven't been asked to go out of processes because of political decisions, which is, well, it's like this. That's the baseline conditions to be in an organization like that. But my best guess is that there's a good calibration between the company and the political side.
Absolutely, there's great collaboration, probably not only at the local level, at City of Vienna level, but also at the ministerial level, obviously. So it is a collaboration, and so to date we haven't. Well, I have only been there for 2 years, but there's been no problems to date with this. Sure. But you do hear of horror stories. I know that when political kind of objectives change, then EU projects are just pulled. So yeah, I know that's an issue, not an issue for us.
No, Amy, here just checking the rundown here. So what I can basically deduct from what you said is that your innovation strategy is quite integrated with the EU funding approach.
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly, we meet kind of every 2 weeks, I think, with our innovation team, and because it's quite, the new topics coming up all the time, which is really nice, and innovative ideas, and so yeah, we are in constant exchange, and also Wiener Stadtwerke has its own kind of innovation funding pot, the holding, so they're able to fund some smaller scale projects, and then depending on the project size, if they need something a bit more, then we look at other forms of funding.
Okay, it leads me on to, we just touched it, but how much attention do you have to the EU funding part from top management in the energy company? It's a big corporation, right?
Yeah, so very much so. So my whole competence center came about because it was agreed on by all of the senior management of each of the different companies. Yeah. So we report regularly to the holding, who reports regularly to all of the the senior management of the company. So they're very much aware of what's going on, of what we're looking at, what we're applying for. Sometimes we liaise directly with them. So there's a lot of, let's say, politics in terms of internal political commitment, I would say, towards the competence center. We're very much supported.
And tell me here, because having worked myself with municipalities and public entities here, if you get the ones that get it, now energy company, there's no question, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things where it makes sense,
Yeah.
right? I've been working with municipalities where you had to push them.
Yeah, me too.
But the point here is, my best guess is that the reason why there's an attention to this is because you can scale up what you want to do. You need to do this anyways.
Yes.
Yeah. So the EU funding is sort of relieving you resources to be, so you can spread out and do more across the whole board, since you have so many things to do.
Absolutely. And also speeding up our projects. We have this goal of 2040, and the EU funding is definitely allowing us to speed up the implementation of these crucial projects. And like you say, doing it on a larger scale. So we're having much more impact by being involved and obtaining EU funding.
Leading to my last sub bullet here, if you have to, do you sometimes have to limit your funding strategy in relation to internal manpower and resources? Or how do you deal with this? So this is about strategic choices, because you just mentioned that there's something comes out all the time that's relevant for you, but you can't run like a rabbit after everything. Then you cannot run after all the rabbits, because then you don't get anyone, right?
Yeah.
So how do you have a, like I said, top 5, areas where, say, here, have you that kind of strategy, say we need to coordinate within this call? Here we can be a partner. Here we take what comes pass it by the door now, right? Picking it up if it's.
Yeah, absolutely, we do. So first, we have a number of golden rules we apply. So we tend to apply for funding that's over 100,000 euros, because obviously nearly all funding applications take quite a lot of time. And my colleagues all of them are really motivated, and they're doing a lot of projects. So we don't want to kind of waste anyone's time. So we're quite aware of the fact that we need to develop relevant project applications. Secondly, we tend to go for funding schemes right now where we are the sole applicant. So this means, schemes such as...
Don't want to share.
Yeah, no, it's not about sharing.
Go away from our money.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's mine.
It's all mine. No, I think it's just, I don't know why. It's just, I think the large partnerships, for example, with Horizon Europe, they're massive now, because we're about 20 partners. I mean, it's always been quite big, but now it's 20 partners. And it can be quite daunting, especially, I imagine, for the junior EU funding managers that we mentioned earlier, to come into a partnership of 20, even if you're a partner, can be quite daunting. So at the minute, because we're quite new as well as a competence centre, we don't want to kind of scare anyone off. So we're starting small programs like starting small, Thinks live program, and there's a really nice funding scheme from the EIB. It's a pure funding scheme. It's not a loan. It's called the Elena funding. And this, and it's for basically for the preparation costs of a larger energy investment. We just got funding for a project called Scale Up, and that's going to be an underground energy storage. And the EIB really developed the project with you. So they develop the project application with you. They give you comments. They support you intensely through the whole process. And the application process is fairly easy, light, and small. So this was a really nice one for us to start with, actually.
You know what?
Yeah.
Small thing. I did an Elena proposal.
Yeah.
And I must admit that what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I did not like, but at all.
Did you not? I love it.
No, the problem was that there's no deadline. So you work. So So what happened? So from my desk back then, it was preparing a proposal, sending it in, And then came the comments. Then came the back and forth, and it seemed endless. Because there was no cutoff. It was just like, we need to look at this as well. And can you share this with us? Can you find this or that? Can you find this or that? Getting back to the stakeholders that I was supporting.
Yeah.
It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. No. My stakeholder was happy when they finally got it, but they were also a little raised their eyebrows a little bit. What?
Yeah.
It goes on forever. And I had a boss that was marking me. Are you not finishing that yet? And then I stopped there working there, and then he took over and said, "Oh my goodness, you had to deal with this."
Yeah. No, yeah.
I'm going. Yeah. I will also do something on the lean at some point, because it's a nice funding scheme. It's not that, and they were helpful, but it seemed like it went on forever.
Yeah, no, with us actually, we didn't have that experience. It was nice and quick.
Good.
No, it's good, and then so we tried to start. We started a bit small, and then starting as just single applicants right now, and then and we have a tradition of regional funding as well. So looking at the ERDF program, we've had some projects this year, and then I'm kind of working our way up.
Yeah, you have you're a sexy partner.
We are.
You would be able to cherry pick.
Yeah,
that's what you would be able to do.
We're a good test site or test bed.
Yeah, because it's one of the big cities of the continent. The energy company engaged in many kinds of different things. Most people, proposal preparers and coordinators, so they will be licking their mouth to get a partner like this into the consortium.
Yeah, we are lucky in this regard. It makes my job a lot easier. You're right. We are, and that's actually, again, now coming back to our top 5. We tend to work on projects like we would not work on projects under a TRL of 5. So we would be a demonstration site. That's also a golden rule. So if somebody comes to us with a project TRL 4, then we're saying no, that's not for us.
Did you join any Horizon proposals yet?
We did. We were involved in one called Smartest Together. That was a kind of a city-focused Horizon 2020 project. And we've joined a few applications now. They weren't successful on the waiting list, sadly. But we're getting there, and we are. And I find Horizon it is a good way of kind of preparing as well for a larger scale investment. The Commission has become quite keen on this kind of accumulation of funding. So having a large project and then using, for example, Horizon 2020 or Horizon Europe to look at the technical solutions, and then using the results then to go on to apply for Innovation Fund. And I think this is a good concept, as long as we all know that we're fulfilling state aid rules, I think, and also this key rule of not duplicating funding. So it has to be clear for everybody how we can accumulate funding to fund large-scale projects. But the theory of it is an excellent.
Anyways, I strongly support your approach. Anyways, to slowly build up capacity.
Yeah.
Getting an idea of how much pressure you can take.
Yeah.
How you take that pressure in on proposal processes and so on. Getting acquainted with consultants that can help you, and who's good, who you like to work with, and so on. It's because you don't. My best guess is you don't lack the money to be able to pay for consultants. But the most important here is that you find the right ones. Yeah.
So we don't have unlimited amounts of money, in our procurement departments are heavily involved when we do subcontracts consultants. And it is, as you said, I mean, it's a combination of things. We interview consultants regularly, so we try to find out who's been successful in the individual programs, but also this personal contact is so important. Like we have to be on the same wavelength and just be friends in a way. Just we have to have a really good connection. That's also a really important part of contracting a consultant to write these proposals. So we have to be on the same page.
Yeah. I think this is a very nice bridge into how you work with EU funding as a tool. Because you mentioned networking.
Yeah.
And I actually am not sure that I put it on the rundown, but we can start off talking about that anyway to make sure that we cover it. So we wait just a second with the motivation and so on. So networking. How have you, when you started the office, did you make a networking strategy, or did you sort of just plunge into it? How did you attack that?
I had a kind of my own personal networking strategy, I would say. We did have a kind of a plan for the whole competence center about how we were going to work, and we had that signed off. And then I had my own kind of networking strategy that how I wanted to approach it. So both at national and also EU level. So I started off by meeting everybody involved in EU funding at national level, although I had a large network anyway from my work at the university. But this was at the university, it was all about research and development, and now I was involved in other funding schemes. So I really so therefore I had to meet a whole group of stakeholders, and I got views, and I built up in a way kind of a little EU funding group, I would say, in Vienna, and we kind of then back and forth we talk about our experiences, and it's really nice. Then at EU level, so I attended all of the info days. And honestly, how many projects came out? The CEF project came out of the CEF transport days, actually, where I met somebody else from Vienna, and this person kind of encouraged me then to apply and as well. So and also I was luckily I was chosen to be part of the Investors Dialogue on Energy, which is a Commission working group on funding and financing of energy projects. So this has been a fantastic networking opportunity, working with lots of different people from lots of different sectors, not only from the funding point of view, but for the financing point of view, so private financing investors. So this has been fantastic networking opportunity. But for the first year, I just kind of network, got my name out there, got the companies out, the information on the companies out there, and developed position papers and just got on everybody's radar, I would say. We have our own Brussels office as well, and they're really supportive.
We do?
Yeah, we do. Wiener Stadtwerke has a Brussels office. We work really closely. They support us heavily with our activities, and networking has been crucial, absolutely crucial. And we are contacted time and time again by the same contact people that we've been working with. And a lot of different suggestions have come from people we've met along the way that we've successfully implemented, like a consultant for a certain funding scheme. I had been interviewing lots of different consultants for a long time, and I kind of hadn't found quite the right one yet. And then a recommendation came from someone that my colleague Julie met, and then we submitted with them, and it was a fantastic experience. So it's networking is so crucial. It really is a crucial part of the job.
It's a matter of you have done the right thing, right approach. There's no exact like 2 lines, right? But this is a way that I would have also attacked it. Because you need to know your local network. You need to know the European network, and then you need to pick up the chances you get to get involved in, and you need to say yes. You need to be a yes sayer in the beginning.
Yeah,
so people understand that you do want to work, and that you do understand or want to learn, no matter if you're not so experienced as a department, but as an organization, that you are putting your hand into that fire. And then if you do that, it's gonna come back to you. So you will have to be less intense in networking events as you move on. But if you don't put your face out there, then
so when my boss hired me, I mean, we didn't really know how many projects would come forward. We wrote a plan, and we didn't know how successful we would be or how many people would come forward with new projects. But actually, the demand and the motivation has been phenomenal. So it's as you say, we really tried hard the first year to build capacities, and we're still doing that as well. But at some stage,
there's definitely an element of a very, very interesting partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cannot. It's like this in this world.
Yeah.
It's if you come from a big city and you come from with a big energy company behind you, it's gonna be like bees towards honey. Right?
Yeah.
It's like this. So that's your luck. Yeah, it's a nice organization to work for.
Yeah.
To start building something like this.
Yes, and I also coming back to the innovation point, it's just the innovative projects that people are coming up with are really surprising me. Like, so, for example, one of our hospitals runs on energy from waste energy from a data center. With the public transport provider Wiener is currently building a new U-Bahn station. It will have all kind of driverless so carriages. Like I mentioned before, this rollout of the smart meters by Vienna's the largest rollout. We have, I think, the most powerful heat pump perhaps in Europe. So they just keep coming, and the hydrogen development. So it's that it's although it's just the innovation that is coming forward. I'm just blown away by it all. So
we're gonna come back to how you collaborate with your engineers and so on. So, but let's just. You started it off a little bit here when you started and the talks you had with your manager and so on. So Wiener Stadtwerke and the motivation to do this.
Yeah.
Is it what I mentioned earlier, this idea that you could actually save resources by getting more for less with enjoying? What was the motivation?
I mean, I wasn't involved in the initial political discussions actually. But I'm guessing that it was identified that there was funding available and that we weren't applying for it. So also I think it was almost certainly there was a need for support. So a central service provider within the holding. But then I think it's just evolved into something more really. It's just become so wide and lots of different discussions, and it's inspiring people as well to kind of do their projects quicker, I would say. As I mentioned before, it kind of speeds up the process.
This is a little bit connected with the second sub bullet here, so the added value. What you actually mentioned here, I'm going to combine it with information about what I know from my background of service being made and so on within Danish stakeholders being involved in EU projects, and they say they don't mention the money.
Yeah,
they mention the network and opening up a new ground for them, either researchers or companies. That's what they mention as the number one added value of being involved in something like this. Can you recognize this from your part?
It's coming. I think as I mentioned, we started from scratch. So at first, I kind of wanted to get some individual projects off the ground. And now we joined to kind of partnerships. So we've joined Hydrogen Europe and ECTP, which is looking at buildings. And we have had a lot of expert nominations. So they will be, and both of these partnerships develop funding topics and consortia. So we're starting this year to really roll out or getting more engaged in terms of networking for EU proposals. Saying that, though, I would say that when I joined, a lot of people already had their networks. So one of the projects we're developing at the moment, we didn't have to find partners because this person actually lent on their networks that they'd already built. So there's a lot of people already have their networks, but perhaps they haven't thought about applying with them. So that's where we come in.
Maybe what I actually didn't scrape in when presenting the company, because one thing is that you're an energy company, right? So you have employees there that doing the day-to-day things out there in the streets, right? But you're also a knowledge organization. You have engineers.
Yeah.
You have How big? What's the ratio, so to say, of people, knowledge people? STEM, engineering people, people that are involved in both developing and activities maintaining.
I don't actually know. It's a really good question. I don't know, but the department, loads of departments that are engineers and working on the technical side of things. So yeah.
Because they get involved when you go into project, right?
Yeah, they do. It's just them. They're our project managers. Absolutely. Yeah.
And that would be I have taken the next sub question, taken it out because it's the same as one we already covered on how the calibration between your innovation strategy and so. But so we skip that because we already talked about that. But then I want to dig into the engineering part. How is your collaboration there? So how does that work? Is it smooth, or do they understand the added value of being involved, or would they rather? Or do you sometimes meet the position that they would rather want to do it themselves, or how does it work?
I think so. Yes, I mean we on the whole, it's a timing question. That's also a challenge that we face. So if we meet somebody that's just about, or in the next few months is about to start this project, then I think because they've come so far in the process and they have enough funding and things are ready to go, then yeah, they're less likely to want to apply because, it would create perhaps extra burden, I would say, whereas everything's set to go. This is what we also experienced with the call. So it's finding that timing where the project's not too mature, that it's just about to be implemented, but it's also mature enough to be submitted. So sometimes there's a bit of a mismatch between our projects. So for example, we tend to develop EU funding proposals 1 year in advance because that's what's needed. We need to know if it's not mature enough, we need to get it to a state. We need the business case. We need the feasibility studies. So in that case, but this is why we work strategically and why we like to develop strategies, because then we can tell our engineers, okay, keep talking to us. If you've got a project that's coming in 2 years, then it's not too early to tell us about it because we're going to have to do quite a lot of work to begin with. It's pre-work, getting an idea of the funding scheme, what's needed, maybe partners, and just keep informed about all your future projects. And that's what we try to do. We try to kind of keep this regular conversation going about what's coming up, what's in the pipeline. And it's working quite well. We've had a couple of cases where we've had, I just got the funding for that, or we're just about to ready to go. That would have been perfect. I've heard that a few times. But then again, and that's then our job really to kind of make sure we're in the conversation early and we're kind of involved in an early stage, and that's getting better and better. But of course, I mean, you hear it at European level, in every organization you work at, every single organization. You hear, EU funding is too bureaucratic and it's too hard and it's not worth the effort. And you just hear it everywhere for everybody. So, but it's part, I see it as part of my job to say, okay, this can be tricky, but this is how we'll support you. Or, have you thought about this? Or this is a reason why perhaps the project failed. If the project application failed, then we think we should try again. And this added value, this is what you'll get out of the project. You'll get large amounts of money, infrastructure funding, maybe, I don't know, free up funding for something else, and or speed up the process. So it's of course, you hear it everywhere, but again, we're trying hard to build capacity and a lot of about applying for EU funding is a lot about trust as well. So again, that was a key component in our first year, about kind of getting to know people, understanding their concerns, and building this element of trust and thinking, okay, they're going to support us. They're not lying to us. They know what they're talking about. And this is so important because you're going to ask people to kind of really get involved in a project, give up a lot of time and probably have quite a lot of stress. Then they have to trust you. So this was also a key element of our strategy at the beginning.
I hope you're listening out there, because this is actually digging a little bit deep into what Amy is doing here. It's when you have talks about funding and so on, and how organizations work. That you have the surface, you have the things about innovation strategy, and you have the thing about how you work with consultants, what areas you dig into, and so forth. But this is Amy's day to day.
Yeah,
this is my best guess is that this is actually one of the things that is of key importance for your department, to have a good communication, and liaison, a rapport with the people that needs to do this, carry this out. Because if they don't take leader, if they don't feel that they are involved, if they don't take that they have ownership of what you are involving them in, it's going to be a crappy process.
Absolutely that. And this is why it has to be something they really want to do. We had these discussions over LinkedIn about not chasing the funding and adapting to funding, and this is my point, in that I need people. I need people now. I would like people not to have their project, and I'll find the funding for them, but that not to change it, because if I'm going to ask them to do something they're not uncomfortable with, then it's going to fail. And I kind of stick to my guns on that one.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing this, because I think many of my listeners, they would have the same issue if they sit in a similar position, that it's actually the psychology.
Yeah.
It's the people skill that weighs through, both in a private organization like yours, but also in universities and so on, the research managers, that you communicating and understanding the people and the person that need to support with doing this, and where it makes makes them how to make them most comfortable about doing this.
Another trait which I've seen, not only at the Wiener Stadtwerke, but all the organizations that I've actually worked at, is people listen to me and they kind of think, yeah, great. But when you put a successful project in front of somebody, a peer that has delivered the same project through EU funding, and we try to do that. We're trying as we start getting successful proposals. Then we're asking the project managers then to present to other colleagues within the organization. It was the same at the University of Vienna, and the same at previous organizations. When they hear somebody who does the same job as them and has been successful, then they're more likely to implement, to actually go for it. So they think, oh, I can do that. Oh, that's exactly what I wanted funding for. So kind of making EU funding tangible for people. It's just crucial.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, we didn't do that enough, actually. And that was something that developed across the last year, particularly when Julie joined in September. Then we focused very much on providing very concrete project examples so that people could really get a feel for what projects would look like on the ground.
I think also for listeners out there who is because it goes in all ways. When you're someone that sits in the facilitating role, in any sort of facilitating role towards a municipality group or towards private SMEs or as internal organization here, it's the same things you need to be aware of. Where are your stakeholders? Put yourself in their feet. Understand how you can make it attractive to them to do this.
Yeah.
And understand what they should not do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because if you get to that understanding between you and the other, then they will see, or you have seen me, you know what, you understand what I do, and they're much more likely to work together with you when you do these things. So, and
people, they really value when you say no, actually. So it hasn't happened to me very often, but I've had one case where I said I wouldn't go for that funding.
No.
So don't chase the money. I wouldn't go. And that builds trust. So people know that I'm not going to recommend anything I don't think they've got a good chance for.
Yeah. No, that was nice. Now we have a little bit of a time constraint here, so I need to make sure that we cover. This was nice. Yeah. Now it sort of moves a little bit into, because this is it's a number issue. So how many employees are dedicated to this? How big is your team?
So there are at the moment there's 2 of us in the main competence center for funding.
Hardly a team, right?
Hardly. We have my boss, who's officially
take one person away, and it's just a person.
Yeah, exactly. No, and so we're building pretty quickly, and we're looking to also basically hire a further person for our team.
You need more people then.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
the motivation has been great. So yeah, we're looking to build the team. My boss is officially running the competence center, and then each of the different daughter companies have their own people, either looking at funding, so Wien Energie, provider, and also Wiener Netze. Both of those have specific people who also support with national funding, and also Wiener Linien and Wiener Lokalbahnen, and then others who have innovation managers, but not necessarily funding managers. So so there are a number of people on the ground also looking at funding, but we're the kind of coordination points. They can come to us,
so they are out there in different sections of
yeah,
the company.
yeah, absolutely. And so we help everybody we can, and so but the main team in terms of the competence center for EU funding is Julie and I, and Julie focuses on mobility and I'm on energy.
It's a big portfolio there.
It is. I know. We just focus on energy and mobility. Yeah, it's.
But you only have one area. What you're complaining about?
Yeah, exactly. Oh no, it's fabulous. As like I said, it was just really had a successful first 18 months, and I hope we can keep the momentum going, and also give us the quality of support that we want to provide. So,
yeah. Problems. Have you run into any issues that has made you reconsider approaching specific funding schemes? You mentioned before, for instance, big consortia in Horizon Europe. So have you burned your fingers a little bit somewhere? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a bit of a problem actually at the moment with EU funding, especially in the energy field. I have a feeling that the programs are funding the same types of activities. I think there's a lot of funding available, and I've been trying to really use my voice to say we need to take a step back and look at what all the projects at national level and EU level are funding, and trying to fund the areas that are currently seriously underfunded. I think geothermal energy is definitely, and district heating. These are two themes which are just underfunded, both at national level and at EU level. So yeah, for example, CEF Energy, this doesn't lend itself nicely to many cities, because you have to essentially be at a border, and a lot of cities aren't at a border. So this is a problem for us. Although the themes are excellent, this kind of cross-border nature of the project, although it would have a massive impact on Europe and could be scaled up, we wouldn't be eligible. So that's one thing. A lot of the funding schemes, particularly at national level now, are funding specific sectors. So the classics, so steel, chemicals, paper, and we find ourselves excluded a little bit from the eligibility, which is also, considering our importance for decarbonisation, this is very disappointing. And for the innovation.
Do your office in Brussels, do they do lobbying towards the framework program?
They do, but we take care of the funding from us. So that's also an important part of our job. We also lobby for different topics that are affecting us. We've just written a position paper actually on under the auspices of the midterm evaluation of the multi-financial framework, but also with the new work programs, and also the start of the development of the program. So we came together and we listened to daughter companies. We held lots of meetings over the course of a year, and we developed a position paper together. And so now we have a lobbying position which we're kind of using. So yeah.
So are you involved in any groups, platforms, or anything in Brussels as a representative where you discuss content in the energy work program?
So with the Investors Dialogue, we talk not about specific work programs, but generally, and we have good links to our program committee members. So some of them ask us directly if we have any feedback, and we give it. Others we just send it and without being asked. So yeah, we have a good network of people that we kind of, and we build kind of consensus. We are part of Euroheat and Power. They have a great innovation team, and
they do.
We do talk to them regularly about funding for district heating, and we're all on the same page. So we're trying to raise awareness that we need more, not necessarily more funding. We need an adaptation of the current programs to allow for district heating projects to be funded. And Innovation Fund as well, I would say. I love the idea of the Innovation Fund. I think it's such an important and crucial funding program, and the way in which the European Commission organizes its information days and its kind of outreach to applicants is absolutely fantastic and a role model. Role model to applicants. I tell them frequently that I think it's brilliant what they're doing. Like these, you can watch how to fill in certain sections, but it is complicated. And I find it really difficult to recommend people to go for the small scale, which is under 7.5 million euros, because the amount of work involved is absolutely, it's really, really a lot. Large scale, I can understand, but small scale, yeah, I would say it's a problem. I think it will be a problem, and people will be put off if they go for 7.5 million. And you need a good 6 to 12 months to prepare a proper application with the Innovation Fund. So this is something also I kind of stay away with.
I had colleagues at P&O that were sitting and working on it. Me, fortunately not, because I was working on big collaborative projects with many partners.
Yeah.
But I saw how much they were.
Oh, yeah, it's really. It takes. We did write one, and it's involved over 10 people, I would say, at the time.
Yeah. For listeners not knowledge about this, it's the Innovation Fund are for big strategic energy projects, and they have two categories. You have small scale and large scale. The small scale is 7.5 million, which is still quite large from Horizon Europe point of view.
Yeah.
And then you have the large scale, and you would normally not have a lot of partners involved in each. So it's really funding really big scale, sort of really like flagship energy projects. Like not just energy, but flagship projects that really makes a change. That needs a lot of money to be able to be carried out.
Perhaps another partnership where we are involved with the Hydrogen Europe. They're responsible for the Hydrogen Europe calls that are launched every year in January. And there they have technical working groups which look at developing with the Commission the calls. And I was involved in a couple of those technical committees this year, and that was absolutely fascinating experience. I'd never done that before. I'd never kind of been involved in drafting a topic. It's fabulous.
Yeah, it's like a work group. Like in a working group. And then you sit and you get a draft from the organization based on input, and then you sit around tables at workshops and develop the core text.
That was really interesting. And like I said, first for me, and I really enjoyed doing it.
Trying to get the director of Hydrogen Europe on board. He actually confirmed that he would, and then I haven't heard from him since. That's about 6 months ago, something like this. So busy guy. So if you have a link in there, let me know.
I will. I will see them next week. So I'll put a word in.
If he's there, mention it.
I will do. By the way.
Yeah. No, excellent. Getting that nice content that I didn't even put into the rundown here. Great. How often do you run into proposals? I think we covered pretty much, get an idea of how often you join. Right? So it's a continuous effort you have, right?
Yes, continuous.
Looking for things that fit with your strategy, building up capacity, and okay, then you focus on where you don't have so many partners or even yourself, but you still join things if it's
absolutely. Absolutely. For example, coming back to the underground thermal energy storage, and we before we got the ELENA funding, they applied for some of the really early stage technical work for national funding, and that's in a consortium. So it's such a nice example of kind of getting a big project funded by different funding schemes. So they solved the technical problems in this national funding program. Then they applied for ELENA for the preparation costs for the larger scale, and then we'll look for the main funding then. So
to explain the listeners, ELENA it funds all the preparatory work. If you need, let's just to give an example that I know myself because I did one. It was for a housing association that wanted to make energy efficiency renovations for their building blocks or residential buildings. So they needed to scope it. They needed a lot of to find out how to make heat pumps, how to make solar panels, how to make insulation, and so on and so forth. They needed to scope and find out how should that be done when we actually carry out the actual work. So that's what ELENA funds, just to be able to get an idea what that is. I have to leave soon.
Okay.
And this time it's not the guest that needs to leave, it's me that needs to leave. But we still have a few minutes left. Is there anything you want to say here before we move into the toughest challenge? Anything you want to share?
Today, really. I mean, I actually I did think of something earlier that I really want to say, and that we already talked about it, but this lobbying element and this being heard in the in our funding landscape. I think people don't really realize that they should keep talking, keep having their voice heard. Together we have to join up together to make the funding programs better and more suited for us. So don't consider that as a crucial part of your job, kind of making appointments with funders and saying, okay, this is a great scheme, we like it because of this we could see improvements. So it's crucial that people speak up, reply to consultations, even if it's a couple of sentences. We have to do this together. And
the thing is, the message from the grant on when it comes to influence and lobbying is it seems like a very big animal. It's very difficult to attack, but if you get the guidance in there, then it opens up and it's not complicated anymore. But you need a roadmap in there. You need a Google map to take you through to find where you need to do this. And then sometimes consultants are expensive with these kind of things, probably, if you ask them to do this, because they'll consider it very strategically important, so you'll get a high price. But I would say when I started off doing this, when I had to do this 10, 12 years ago, I just did some desktop research. It was not, I didn't have specific knowledge about how to go and where to look, but I did take my time to think logically, where could it be that I would need to, and then I started to talk to people and ask, where do I need to go? Where do and if you just try to ask your resources, your national contact points, for instance, or something like this, ask people who should probably know, and then when you get the directions, get involved.
Absolutely.
Get in there even if they ask money for you to be a member, it's not a lot, and the influence you get is going to come back, not only for the long light, it's not only for the calls that comes in 1, 2, 3 years, but it's direct in the group that you sit with, because you will be invited into possibilities will open up for that reason that you're sitting there with those people.
Absolutely that. Perfectly put.
I will also zoom in on the influencing part in the grant. So it's because I did it myself, and I know how important it is. It's part of. So I'm going to make I'm not sure I'm going to make a step by step like I did with the proposal preparation, but I am going to make sort of a guide on where I try to break down how to approach it mixed with guests that do the same thing.
Brilliant. So, I have the feeling that people are a bit reluctant at the minute, and or just don't think that they can change anything. That's what I hear quite a lot across the European level, and it's not true.
If you're not in this world, Amy, it's very easy to think that where on earth should I?
It's true. It's true. It's true. You're right.
And you see the document, that's intimidating. If you actually get your hand on a work program, right? Look, that's intimidating just by the sheer size, right?
Absolutely. Like just what's an action? What's an action? It's a project. So even today I had a conversation, and I was like, just basically translating EU funding speak for an engineer, and even this really you forget sometimes when you're really in it that other people.
This is one of the most important things to be able to, the translator of the lingo.
Absolutely. It's a whole different world.
The Grand. Amy, I have to see my daughter for her summer concert.
Good luck.
Unfortunately, it's a very nice talk. No, we're not finished yet.
Okay, sorry.
You need to share with us toughest challenge. It's always part of my episodes, right? So, what would you say? What is the toughest thing? Is it internally, or is it towards the commission, or is it preparing the proposal process, or what is the toughest thing?
Toughest challenge, I think, is getting persuading people that it's going to be okay to support, to apply, and to kind of they're motivated people. It's just this kind of fear of EU funding and the work involved in bureaucracy, and that's probably our toughest challenge. And also the toughest challenge for us also is this lack of really relevant program for our projects, and trying very much to kind of basically lobby, I would say, to ensure that our projects can be funded by schemes. These are the two major challenges that we're facing right now.
And we have touched upon how to solve that. So it's people skills and...
Yeah, absolutely.
Amy, that was nice. Now, this is not the last time, because we also have something else scheduled, actually. I can reveal that to listeners. We are going to talk about... I actually forgot what was the main issue there with this Isabel and you. And
so it's this concept of do you kind of develop a project to fit the funding, or do you have a project and make the funding work for you? And I'm quite an EU funding geek, so I love these theoretical discussions and different points of view.
And this one, Isabel, she's excellent. It's going to be a very nice one.
It's going to be a great one.
That's a cliffhanger for all of you.
Yeah.
So I will see you back. Yeah. I couldn't even remember the topic.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like an episode of Dallas or something. It's the end. What's gonna come next?
Amy, thank you so much for joining. I'm just gonna land the plane before we say goodbye to the listeners. So, dear listeners, thank you so much for listening to the end. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Please, as I always say, please, by all means, check out my website, thegrant.eu. If you have any sympathy with what I'm doing, subscribe to the mailing list. That is the best way for me to grow as a podcast. So, by all means, please help me. No, don't worry. It's going well for me anyways. If you're questioning yourself out there, it's fine. Everything is okay. I have listeners, and it keeps going on. So that's good. The grant is doing well. Then do connect with me on LinkedIn. This is where the key action goes on on a daily basis. This is where I share stuff. This is where I share about the episodes. And I also do have a LinkedIn group called the Grand LinkedIn group, but it's not active. Nobody's using it. So I'm trying to rethink a little bit about what to do about that. But you can enter it if you think. I do share things also in there. I normally mention the hub. It's okay. I think people get the point. I have a hub where I try to share common things like links to the participants portal, networking links, the webinars from the commission, and so on. But do remember that this is a spare time initiative, and time is a factor. And I do start to feel the burn that I have a daytime job and do this, and I keep raising the stakes on this initiative. So it's and people get back to me now, so it's good. Yeah. It's successful here, but it's also I need also to calibrate myself in that process. But Amy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Niels. Thank you so much for the invite. It was a pleasure.
And looking forward to next time, and let's say goodbye to the dear listeners. Bye.
Bye.